Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. How are you all? I am filming this video before I go to work in the morning, which I don't think I've ever done that before, and I feel a bit like my voice doesn't belong to me, but we'll crack on. I am at the moment reading, and due to finish any time today, Animal Farm by George Orwell. I like this edition, it's a big hardback, and it got me thinking about books that I've got that are around the 100-page mark on my shelves, ready to be read. So if you watch my TBR, you'll know that this month I'm doing a bit of a mop-up of all the books that I'm reading, and hopefully cracking on with some long books. But I didn't want to ignore the short books on my shelves, particularly since I've just recently bought 2, 4, 6, 7 books which are all under 100 pages. So I just thought, as I'm reading this, it got me thinking about the short books I've got, and I would show you. So all of these books I've got are currently on my shelves and are around the 100-page mark. Lean over. Oh no, she's dropped them. She's kicked the camera. Oh, so profesh. Oh, and she's dropped it again. Back. So I thought I would show you these books that I've got, and as I said, they're all around the 100-page mark. So I will start with 7 of the Penguin Modern little guys that have just recently come out. These are all £1. They've got a range of about, I don't actually know how many they've got. I mean, I've got up to number 36. So anything from that really, around 36. Let's have a look. There's 50. There's 50 of these titles, and I went into Waterstones and picked up 7 that I was interested in, but there's still some more that I would like. So these are all roughly around the 50-page mark. That one's about, yeah, they're all about 50 pages, and I'm very excited about all of them. The first one I've got is Chinua Achebe, which is Africa's Tarnished Name, which is essays on the history of appropriation of Africa as a continent. I've got, this is number 1, Martin Luther King Jr., Letter from Birmingham Jail, and this is a missive from one of the greatest activists in history, calls for a direct, non-violent resistance in the fight against racism, and reflects on the healing power of love. George Orwell Notes on Nationalism. That I picked that up because I knew I was going to be reading Animal Farm, and I just thought this would be great to link it in. I've only ever read 1984, and then I always forget the bloody title of it. Down and About in Paris and London, is that what it's called? Down and About in Paris and London. I think that's what it's called. But this is reflections on, it says here, patriotism, prejudice and power. And then I've got Leaving the Yellow House by Saul Bellow, which is a story about an old woman who lives in a desert town and finds herself faced with an impossible choice. Apparently it's very funny. Then I've got this I picked up purely on the title because I'd never heard of Dorothy Parker, but it's The Custard Heart, and these are the tales of women on the edge by the legendary wit Dorothy Parker, and they show the darkness beneath the surface of the jazz age. So I was excited about the title, and then when I read what it was actually about, I was even more excited. Then this is the number 1 excitement of all of them. I've got The Breakthrough by Daphne du Maurier, and this is a short story about a scientist's attempt to solve the mystery of life after death, and it has chilling consequences. So yeah, that feels exciting. And then the last one I've got of that range is Shirley Jackson, The Missing Girl, and I was watching Sana talk about this one, and it's a girl who's sort of like out and about, and she keeps hearing people saying, oh, this girl's missing, and they're describing her. So yeah, that's a short story. Never read any Shirley Jackson before, so that's quite exciting. So they're great. They're a great little way to get into books that authors that you've not read before, and like for £1 they're just a complete snip, like all of those for £7. How wonderful. And then I've got another range of shorter books. So Vintage have brought out a range of minis, and they're around 100 pages. The first one I've got, it's non-fiction, and it's Eating by Nigella Lawson. This is a manifesto by Nigella, who's a famous chef. Actually, she says she's not a chef, she says she's a cook, which is something I really like about her. It's a manifesto on how to cook and eat good food every day with a minimum of fuss. So yeah, this is, they've taken these out of 2 of her cookbooks, How to Eat and Kitchen. So yeah, I feel quite looking forward to that. And I've got a little bookmark with a little catty guy on there. So he's friendly, isn't he? So that, and then the next one I've got is Liberty by Virginia Woolf, and this is excerpts taken from her books Room of One Home, The Waves, Street Haunting and Other Essays, and this is about freedom and feminism and all things like that. And I really like these. I feel like they're really cool, and they're only £3.50. I bought my sister one for Christmas, the sisterhood one, and actually when I was in the Welcome collection a few weeks ago, they've got the whole range in there, and I saw that they do a motherhood and a fatherhood one as well, which I feel like are really cool gifts, especially as it's Mother's Day, not long now, guys. And then the next few I've got are plays or poetry. So the first play I've got is Ali Smith, The Seer. Jen Campbell was kind enough to send this to me, and I've been meaning to read it for such a long time, and I will get round to reading it, and I think actually David and I might read it aloud to each other, which I think will be really cool. My sister and I used to do that when we were younger. We used to get plays, we used to get the same book out from the library, plays, and then just read them aloud to each other. Aren't we cute? This is about a couple, Neil and Iona. Somebody turns up at their house, I believe claiming to be one of their sisters, and it's not their sister, but they just go along with it. I think that's what this is about. I've only read Autumn and Winter by Ali Smith, so to read a play by her would be really, really great, and I feel excited to do so. Then I've got A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. I know nothing about this. When I was at school and we did A-level English, there was a group that did this, but I didn't do this, so I have no idea what it's about. I believe it's set in the south of America. I might be wrong. She arrives, so it's about a woman, Blanche Dubois, and she arrives to stay with her sister Stella in a crowded, boisterous corner of New Orleans. Her delusions of... I can't believe I'm reading this out. I'm sure everyone knows what this is about apart from me. So, yeah, there's another play. Don't read many plays, so I feel quite excited to read this play. And then this sort of like segs from radio play into poetry, and that's Under Milkwood, the definitive edition by Dylan Thomas. I bought this in Wales. How exciting is that? In St David's, which is the smallest city in the UK. They've got an amazing bookshop in there, and I bought it in there. I was like, I need to buy a Welsh book, so you can get more Welsh than this. And this is written by Dylan Thomas, and it was commissioned by the BBC and made into a radio play many times over, and it's basically like it's just an account of a day in a Welsh village. It's a Welsh seaside village. Oh God, it's called Lala Regub, but I know letters aren't the same in Welsh as they are in English. So yeah, Lala Regub. Lala Regub is how it says. I keep saying it and destroying it every time. But yeah, so I have read this before, but I wanted to own my own copy, and I will be reading that before. And then this sort of goes into the poetry section of my book, of my video. And I've got And I Still Rise by Maya Angelou. So she is she's the writer of I Know Where the Caged Bird Sings, and I bought this in a selection of 3 of her books. I haven't read anything by Maya Angelou. I absolutely need to. And this is her poetry, and yeah, the title poem is in here, And Still I Rise. And yeah, I must get round to reading that. And then the last one I've got is one that my sister got me either for my birthday or for Christmas, I can't remember, and that is Songs of Innocence and Experience by William Blake. These are the Penguin cloth bound classics. I've got quite a lot of the novels of this, but these are like the slightly smaller poetry editions, and I didn't think I'd read any. I'm really not au fait with poetry. Like, it's not my strong suit. I don't really remember doing much of it in school, and I'd like to get more into it. And I was like, oh, I don't think I've read anything by William Blake, but then on the back it says here, Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. Well, I definitely have read that one. So yeah, and these are just gorgeous. So yeah, those are 14 books that I have on my shelves that are all under 100 pages. Now, I'm aiming, I would like to be able to read them all this year, just to get them done. And I feel like maybe setting up a little pile. I have like this little table next to me. And I feel like maybe popping those books on there and sort of dipping in and out of them as the year goes by, which I feel like would be quite interesting. Would love to know if you guys have read any of these books. I'm going to bring them over. The only thing is because they're so small, it looks like a small pile of books, but if you drop them, you drop all of them. Would love to know if you guys have read any of these books. What are your favourite books that are around 100 pages? Is anyone planning on getting hold of these lovely little Penguin modern blue books? I would love to hear which ones you've got or which ones you're interested in, and I will see you all again soon for another booktube video.